What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips to instantly take better panning shots. Panning shots can add a sense of motion and movement to your images, turning a static image into something more dynamic. So let's take a look at a few things that you can do to help improve the accuracy of your panning shots. Shutter speed. 1/30th of a second is a great place to start. When it comes to shutter speed, it can be overwhelming trying to work out what shutter speed to actually use. So one of the ways that I've liked to overcome this is by approximating the speed of the vehicle or the subject that I'm trying to shoot. Say I'm trying to capture a bike, I'd look at 1/115th of a second to 1/20th of a second. Whereas if it's a car, it might be something in the region of 1/30th of a second, if not a little bit faster, all depending on the vehicle's speed. And what I like to do is do a rough approximation of what that vehicle could be traveling at in that particular location, and then do 1 over that shutter speed. And that gives me a great starting point to work from, to then hone in the shutter speed from there. Because when you're starting out, it can be difficult to decide where to start or where you want to put your shutter speed. So for me, I like to use that as a kind of a quick rule of thumb to try and get a starting point to then work from there onwards. The next one is using continuous autofocus. For me, I usually set it to continuous autofocus in the spot focus mode. Using continuous autofocus on the spot mode allows you to lock onto the subject before the frame that you actually want to capture, get it in focus, and then move with the subject through whilst maintaining focus. So you're not trying to, when your subject's coming straight through and kind of going with it, you're kind of starting before the subject is in the full frame, tracking it, holding your focus, and then taking your shots where you want it to. By using continuous autofocus on the spot mode, this saves the camera hunting for other subjects as you're moving, and then you can lock onto that subject as you're following through. So you want to be moving before the shot, during the shot, and after the shot, all whilst keeping it on continuous focus. And the reason for this is your main goal is to try and match the speed. And if you're trying to do it in a short window, you've got less chance of matching that speed. Whereas if you kind of go long and wide with your subject on continuous autofocus, that can help you match the speed and get better reliability of your shots. Burst mode, this might be an obvious one, but using burst mode can drastically improve your chances of getting a shot, because as you're panning with the subject, you can start taking your shots just before and then kind of taking them through the shot and just after. So you're giving yourself a bit of room for error either side a couple of shots. Some people say to use a really fast burst mode, but for myself, I've been using kind of 3 to 5 frames a second. If I'm on a higher FPS, I find that the camera hunts a little bit more and I've got less reliability of shots. Next up, we're going to be talking about aperture. In panning photography, aperture doesn't control how blurry your image is. That's all provided for by the movement and the shutter speed. So aperture and ISO are mainly responsible for dealing with your exposure. But you can use your aperture to your advantage. Usually I close it down a little, anywhere from 5.6 to f9. So by using that closed off aperture, you're increasing your depth of field, allowing more of your subject to be in shot. So your background's going to be blurry anyway because you're panning through. And this ensures that everything that I want to be in focus is in focus. This gives me a little bit of wiggle room and not fighting the depth of field. And finally, remain tight. This is something that's easily overlooked, but it can make your life so much easier when you're moving with your subject to kind of lock your arms in at your side, lock onto your subject and move in one fluid motion with the subject. You want to start wide, recoil, and then follow it through, and then finish. So say we want to take the shot straight in front of us, start off to one side, and with your whole body, rotate, follow through, and follow through. So we've got start, gonna lock onto our subject, following it through, shoot, follow through. It helps you to match the speed in a smooth and controlled manner, rather than jolting and juddering and trying to catch it in that little last moment. That can create some cool creative effects, but in panning photography, if we kind of pan through with the subject, it'll help so much. So there we have it. Those are my top tips to help you take better panning photos today. These are just some of the things that have helped me to get more reliable results when taking panning shots. If these tips helped you, I'd love to see your shots over on Instagram, so make sure you tag me in them. And with all that said and done, I'll catch you in the next one.